Hi. Hi, everyone. So sorry this panel will be in English because we have a fantastic Brazilian. So actually his French is much better than my English, but for good reason we decided to make it in English. So today we are talking about something which is maybe the most important element of our ecosystem is the cloud. And to talk about the cloud today, we are welcoming three fantastic guests. So first of all, let me introduce Yann Lechel. You are the CEO of Scaleway. You are a serial entrepreneur. You worked in voice and AI for a few years, and you sold Snips to Sonos. Congratulations. You were the founding member of France Digital, very notably interesting. And Scaleway is a cloud service provider, but with a very strong credential regarding what you call the European attributes and values, and I think you will explain us what it means. Welcome to Karine. Karine is the CEO of Oracle. I don't know exactly how you say it in English. Formerly, you were working at Hyperion and SAP. And you are working for the past 20 years in the digital industry, and with a kind of a broad view on both strategy and business development. And you will share with us your experience. And at last, not at least, Sergio Werner. You are the head of Cloud Center of Excellence at Capgemini. You are specifically working in the cloud for the past 10 years, and maybe a bit more specific, working on the impact of the cloud on the business, but also on the society. And so that will be very interesting to hear about you. When everyone is talking about the cloud, everyone is talking about, usually thinking about sovereignty, about cybersecurity. And there is a lot of political discussion around it. There is a new agreement, Franco-German agreement, named GAIAX, just signed. However, we will not talk about it today. We are on the impact session. So the question today is what the actual and the future impact of cloud development on the planet. You all hear a lot of a kind of a new music, which is to say that when you are streaming a movie on Netflix or a track on Deezer or Spotify, and where you are sending an email, it's bad for the planet. And so paradoxically, everything which was before considered, which is the digital, is finally reducing transportation, reducing a lot of capex, is finally wrong. And finally, digital is really one of the most important dangers of the planet. The reality is a bit different. The digital share of carbon consumption worldwide between 2010 and now has gone from 2% to 4%. And if you go more in details, within this 4%, 30% are linked to the device manufacturing, 30% to the usage, 23% to the network, thank you. And at last, only 17% is linked directly to the cloud. So of course, the cloud is not to be seen just as a kind of an item alone. It has an impact of its industry, but definitely it's not as a paradox, as a caricatural it seems to be. So why are we talking here today about the cloud and its impact on the planet? It's because of the huge increase of the usage. Between 2010 and now, the internet users have been multiplied by 2. The internet usage has been multiplied by 10. The data workload has been multiplied by 6 or 7. But during those same years, between 2010 and now, the energy consumption linked to the cloud has been stable. So there is a kind of a disconnection between the huge volume and a stable consumption. And this is the first topic we will address today, is what the reality. Are these figures wrong? What's behind? And are their figures sustainable? Can we bet that in the exponential usage of digital and specifically on the cloud, we will make sure we will have a stable consumption, or will it explode at one point? So for these points, Jan, can you tell us the reality and the future?
Thanks, Axel. So the foundation really is industrial. When we talk about the cloud here in this context, we talk about those data centers that you don't see on a day-to-day basis. In other words, if you want to use a smartphone, you do not have the ability to use the phone without those data centers. And I urge you to come and visit some data centers to realize what it means. So either we stop progressing, or we assume that we use data centers that consume energy. Now, at Scaleway, we have and we operate our own data centers. And trust us, when we talk about energy, when we talk about CapEx, as industrial players, we care about optimization. We care about lowering the amount of energy we consume per rack, per blade. So we do that on a daily basis. And the entire industry has been capitalizing on the smaller size of microprocessors, on the ability to optimize the data center. So number one, we care a lot about the economics of data centers. And by doing so, we care a lot about the impact. And one of the fundamental aspects of cloud computing is that we consume energy, as every computer does, but we do it in a very dense way. So we consume tons of energy. Now, the problem with computers is that they heat up. They generate heat. And so in order to cool the computers down, typically data centers, they use air conditioning. And air conditioning uses another unit of energy. And that is the very problem, because computing is going from former personal computers to the cloud. So there is a transfer of computing power, which we need. So that's OK. But what we do is try to optimize what we call the PUE, power usage efficiency. And the old generations of data centers, they consume a PUE of 2. And the most modern data centers consume a PUE of 1.1, 1.15. And we have built one such data centers because it makes economical sense, right? But we do that because we also recognize that while you consume energy, and you can decide to consume carbonated energy, or you can decide to consume non-carbonated energy. And data centers in France are pretty lucky because we have very good nuclear energy and very good hydraulic energy available from all over Europe. And so by doing so, we can consume and produce computing power using decarbonized energy. And one specific aspect, if I may, and then I'll hand over to you, is one aspect which we are very proud about. And in fact, we've integrated it in our tagline. So this is a scoop for you. Feel free to quote me. We're building Scaleway, the cloud that makes sense. Why? Because we care so much about this aspect. Our latest data center basically does not use air conditioning. So we have been able to bring the PUE in one data center, our latest, right? The older generations use more energy, but this one uses 1.1 unit of energy because we use wind inside a tunnel that cools off the computers. And we do that with evaporated water, with no chemicals. So it is possible, but it's transitional. It takes sometimes months and years to fill a data center. So it's very industrial, and it happens in waves. So this is the challenge, consuming green energy and consuming less.
But is it what you describe, what you do at Scaleway, or is it a global trend of all the data centers? Do you think we can bet that despite the explosion of the usage, the consumption will be stable?
Yes, it will naturally improve because the most expensive item at the end of the month for me is the energy, right? So generations of data centers will have better power usage efficiency. However, one major issue with older data centers is that you cannot move the computers easily. The computers are there to stay because the clients are inside the computers. So unless you move to a very different types of software that allows to move clients easily, then you're stuck with older generation data centers. So it's all about the choice you make today for tomorrow.
So the cycle of change is dangerous, but the long term could be, we could be optimistic for the long term.
Absolutely.
Karine, so based on this kind of a real actual consumption of carbon through the data centers, we all understand that the cloud is just an enabler of a wide range of usage. And the question is, can you explain us how the digital evolution allowed by the cloud will be generate virtuous usage from the companies or for the consumer?
Yeah, of course. I just wanted to add something on the fact that you have to move from one data center to the others. I agree that the trend is to have green cloud. So I think every provider today, every hyperscaler is working on this to use only green energy. But as well that, for example, with Brexit, we had to move a lot of data from our customer from the UK to, for example, us to Germany, to Switzerland, and this is why we're opening one in France. So the ability for software to be able to move from one country to another is even more important with the sovereignty issue you mentioned at the beginning. And we need to have this flexibility, otherwise we can have issue with our customer. So the use case, the cloud, of course, we are here to make money. We are not, a caritative company, and especially, but it's important to understand that we see use case. For example, we are part of the World Bee Project. I think everyone knows about the problem we have with the bees that are disappearing because of the pollution. So we use the cloud to actually put sensor in thousands of hives. And we are collecting 2.5 million data every day to understand the impact on the environment, the heat, the pollution, on the way the bees are evolving, are dying. And it really enables us to save and to understand how to save more bees. So this is the type of project we're working on. But I think the latest things we saw with cloud, where cloud was really good for the planet, was with COVID-19. I think you heard how it was hard in the US. You know, they went through a very big crisis. So, for example, as Oracle, we developed very quickly. So this is the strength of cloud. You can develop quickly for high volumes. Health learning system, therapeutic learning system, to understand the impact of all the treatment that you heard for months. So they can collect from all the patients, from all the doctors across the US, the impact of one treatment on others, on a patient, and then have some trends and understand what is the best for each patient. So this is the type of things we were able to do in a week and give to the government. But it was not possible before with other technologies. So this is the type of good things we see from the cloud. And we do that as well with the University of Bristol for the vaccine of chikungunya. So from a health perspective, we talk a lot about the health tech. I think there is maybe a lot of startup here around the health. I think the cloud is really an enabler because of the amount of volume of data we have to manage from a health perspective.
Thank you for those examples. Thank you, Karen. Okay, fantastic, Sergio. Everyone is considering that around the table that cloud could be good for the planet by reducing his usage, but also by the usage generated indirectly. However, do you think that there is a demand for it? Is it just we are all here concerned about environment, but this concern about environment is replicated into the demand from the companies for the public purchase or even for the consumer itself? Or for the moment, we can imagine that the critical question is much more about sovereignty, about security, about price, about scalability, and the environment is not at all into the kind of a request from the consumers and the companies?
Yeah, from a Capgemini point of view, we are actually convinced that being good for the environment is being good for the business, and I think there is a general awareness that's being built in the business, in the boards and so forth on our clients. And we inscribe that not only on our own commitments, because we have, as any major player today, commitments towards neutral carbon footprint in 2030 and so forth, but also towards our clients. We have commitments in terms of reducing the footprint, 10 million tons of CO2 for our clients until 2030. That's because naturally, as I said, Karine, we are not as well as charity. We look for good business, and we see that demand coming from the clients themselves. Myself, I have the opportunity to discuss with CTOs, CIOs of different companies in France, and the question of at minimum the energy footprint of the consumption of the applications, the use cases that the clients are going to use in the cloud is coming into the conversations now as a criteria, and in particular, and then more of a experience on the B2C market. So when companies are really exposed to their final clients in terms of awareness of the environment, their position, their image, they are also more aware in terms of how they use the cloud. So in order to respond to that, and companies like us that help and advise our clients in how to use best the cloud, we have to adapt to that and put our conviction forward. So we have a program, and we have 6 targets in a program that's called the Architects for a Positive Future. It's also important for our people. Environment is one of them, and it cannot stay and remain on the pitch level. It has to go down to actual actions that we perform with our clients in their projects. For example, in some of the tools and methodologies that we use to evaluate cloud transformations, environment impact and energy consumption is now a metric. So if you don't measure something, you cannot act on it. So we measure it. And in the architecture frameworks that we have, internal architecture frameworks for deploying applications and use cases, the green IT aspect of it is also integrated. So we would not do all this effort if we didn't see this kind of feedback from the clients that are being preoccupied with this question.
If I'm a bit provocative, because to be preoccupied is one step, but did you see in the past discussion we have with your clients a trade-off between, let's say, price and environment that has been traded in favor of environment with your clients?
In fact, what we can see, and I think as we progress in the future, and we're going to see more, the discussions are really not on price, but on what we call the total cost of ownership. So how long to have a use case, an application on the cloud during its lifetime? How much it costs to maintain, to use, and so develop, and so forth. And what we can observe from the cases that we saw is that actually are correlated. So the arbitration is not really a very difficult one. The discussions get more difficult when we have a discussion really on the short term, in a very short term kind of horizon. Then an arbitration that can appear. But when you really talk about TCO, total cost of ownership, and the horizons are longer, the correlation is much simpler. Yeah.
Very good. So if economy and environment are going together, that's very good news. Karine, do you see in your clients also a demand for those preoccupation and maybe a positive arbitration consequently?
Yes, more and more in the RFI we receive from customers, there is this element of are your data center green? Are you completely in control of your supply chain? Because when we talk about energy, we didn't mention the components as well of the machine. Are you capable of recycling them, reusing them, reselling them? So there is an element of are you as a vendor in control of the data center and what is happening with the machine. So I guess you have the similar challenge. So we have to explain that as we are producing our machine ourselves, we have this traceability. So this is the type of question we receive. But as we discussed earlier, I received this question as well from candidates, people joining Oracle, asking me, are you a green company? What commitment did you take? It's true that we are part of Tech for Good now in France. And it's because we believe in it, but as well, it's as well to tell the young generation that technology as well is respecting environment and making some effort. So it's as well, and we talk about an element of image that is very important on top of the commitment.
It's very interesting because you mentioned that the companies which are the more preoccupied are the ones who are B2C and the link with the employees. And the candidates, and I think, like in a lot of other cases, the citizens seems to be in advance in their demand to the industry itself, whatever be the industry. But the thing is, it seems that the politics are even more late behind the industry into this concern. And I'm sure, Jan, you want to share with us few concerns about the way politics are considering the cloud instead of considering the impact on the environment and maybe on the sovereignty.
It's a tricky question because Macron yesterday said we've lost the cloud battle in France. Now, losing a battle means that you cannot influence so much the environmental impact, right? Now, I think Macron is wrong because the cloud is only just the beginning. The cloud is evolving, and 80% of the IT consumption globally is not yet in the cloud. Yet the cloud provides efficiencies at scale. So I think Emmanuel Macron is right to state that we've lost the war on cloud. We may have lost one battle, but it's only just the beginning. And in reality, what politics are able to set are decade-long timelines, such as, let's try and be carbon neutral, COP21. These are politics at play at the global level. But the true players here are economics and purchasing behaviors. We all survived somehow this pandemic, not over yet, but we are realizing that we live in a world that needs some sort of a stability and rebalancing. And so as we do that, we also realize that the planet is going worse. If you look at the wildfires everywhere, so we are thinking about that as we build a business, as we consume. And as far as I'm concerned, and that's why I think Emmanuel Macron is wrong, is that the cloud today has reached a plateau of maturity where we are consuming a commodity. We're consuming compute, storage, and transit. That's it. Now, the software makes it more or less difficult or easy to exploit. But at the end of the day, if it's a commodity, what do you prefer to buy? Do you prefer to buy a product that is good for the planet or the very same product that is less good for the planet? It's a personal choice at the end, as a business owner, as a startup entrepreneur, or as an individual. And so it's a societal subject, not so much a political subject. Politics, in fact, react to societal uprising or awareness. They're often late. In fact, if we look at Europe, Europe is the worst possible construct. It's 20 years late in everything. GDPR is probably the only thing interesting that we've produced as of late, as a sovereign federation. So we cannot dissociate that from geopolitics. We cannot dissociate it from politics because they will give us some sort of a synthetic view of what we need to be in 20 years' time. But day to day, we make the decision as individuals.
And then just to build on that, I think there is the generational aspect as well, both in the people that work in our companies that are very interested. It's an important topic for them, and it's an important recruiting topic so that we move this agenda forward. But also in our clients, they also have this generation impact. So we see our clients looking for use cases that use the cloud, that are going to use the cloud in a more intelligent manner, and that are going to push the agenda of being more environmentally responsible forward. So, for example, one project that comes to my mind is a client that is going to work in redoing its stock systems that's going to run in the cloud. So, and how he moves the merchandise between stocks and things like that. The environment metrics are coming into play in this kind of discussion, as well because we have a generational impact from the awareness that comes from the younger generation. So I think we cannot isolate the cloud as a tool from the whole environment, political, societal, economical, that our clients are facing today.
Karine, do you want one last word, or?
No, I think we cover everything. I just would like to say, you say, for the good of France, it would be good that the politics, when they decide what is a good cloud for French company, it's not only because it's a cloud based in France. It's maybe a cloud that is green, that is secure, that is cheaper, etc. So I think we have to be very careful with this sovereignty thing, so it doesn't prevent us for asking to the cloud provider the real question. So I totally agree with you.
I love my GAFAM, you know.
I
so
know. I'm not
no
part
problem.
of it, so I'm not part of it, so I'm happy.
So as a conclusion, I think we can have a few things. First one is it seems that the cloud carbon footprint seems to be mastered. Maybe there will be a cycle of change, as you mentioned, but overall, it's allowing a lot of virtuous usage behind. Second of all, politics are late regarding civil society. Maybe it's a good news, even if it's more complex than that. I don't know if it's a good news or not, but at least the good news is that civil society is taking this stake by itself, not waiting for anybody to progress. And the last one, even if it's a bit different, is cloud is beginning commoditizing. I think you get it, and that's make it an open market. So that's why we just lose a battle and not the war.
And the word for that is multi-cloud.
Multi-cloud. Okay. Thank you very much to all of you. Thank you
you
very much for your attention.